Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here. And as we have Davos going on this week, and I did a video earlier focusing on that, I wanted to point out yet another one of the power structures out there. But while pointing it out, I want people to understand that this methodology that I'm about to explain, okay, goes across the board in most regards. It's the secret sauce of power, the magic, if you will. You always wonder why so many of these people at the top are part of organizations that have ties to occultism and quote unquote magic. And for those that don't know what Hollywood is, the Hollywood is the wood that was utilized in making what? A magic wand. Disney has the Magic Kingdom. These are just some examples. But when I say this, I don't want to get into the weeds of symbolism and occult. This is nuts and bolts, nitty gritty, how things actually work. And unfortunately, although I was hopeful that Trump would be able to step in and make a reasonable peace deal in Gaza and end the killing, that has not been the case. Even this latest ceasefire, we're going to illustrate in a moment, it was a joke from the beginning. And quite frankly, because of his position with Netanyahu and Israel in particular, it was doubtful it was going to go anywhere else. Trump's largest donor, and I've often pointed this out, and this is why you have to point out the Israeli nation state influence, and it's beyond a nation state because there are other interests that are pro-Israel outside of Israel, obviously. Okay, but utilizing that as a central point for intelligence, for weapon systems, for all types of warfare, to technology that is also on the cutting edge and often integrated with U.S. intel, right? Israel is that focal point. And Adelson, okay, Sheldon Adelson was his largest contributor first time around. And Trump's always been open about being extremely pro-Israel, even when he's expressed outward frustrations. Now, post-October 7th, especially under the Biden administration, but any establishment administration, it would have been the same thing. You knew what was happening. It had that same feel of propaganda via 9/11 because it was the same playbook. Okay, there are plenty of questions about October 7th and how it was allowed to occur and the response time. And of course, the Hannibal directive that I hear almost nobody talking about. And I just put it like this every time. And I've never really gotten a good answer except for people looking at me funny. You know, Palestine doesn't have either a military or an air force, but this attack somehow gets past the Israeli military and air defense by having people hang glide in from planes. Just that on its face was so super and completely ludicrous that it even went beyond that. And then more of it is just insane, but still really not allowed to ask those questions, right? The 9/11 stuff, there are major questions to this day, more people asking those questions, and that's great. But at the same time, Trump going into that rhetoric as well lately. So, post Biden administration, Trump coming in, failing on these things, we now have Miriam Adelson out there. And Miriam Adelson is the wife, of course, of Sheldon, who has passed on. But one of these things that, I don't think gets talked about enough but is often the case with these superpower players and when I say superpower players, I'm talking about on all scales, like social climbers that are able to get up to the presidency like Bill Clinton was able to do, and then Hillary Clinton up to Secretary of State and almost the president of the United States. That's like a power couple. All right. Psychopathic as they may be. That's a team. House of Cards kind of represented that in many ways. And look, Sheldon Adelson, say what you want about him. Say what you want about a lot of these people. A lot of them actually find their team player. Sometimes they break off, right? Like you look at Bill and Melinda Gates. Melinda was very on board and still is trying to stay in the public eye with all these foundations, another mechanism in these power structures, by the way. But Miriam Adelson has been central. I mean, getting medals from Trump, you name it. And we'll just illustrate how pro-Trump she is. And what she said recently, I missed this one. But what we're going to focus on, and this is going to be a shorter video, right, is this thing that she said recently at the Israeli-American Council. Because I'll say this about her. Say what you want about Israel, the power structure, what she does, because she certainly, I mean, she is a big, not only promoter, but funder of the Greater Israel Project, just like on every level. That's a real thing, okay? Anything the establishment says or does about Israel, Adelson is 100% behind. And just like when we talk about Epstein, right, you've got to talk about Les Wexner. It's a similar role, of a Wexner and an Adelson. Adelson was, big in the casino scene in Vegas, etc. All these, think about it this way. All these billionaires of influence that we're talking about here that are outside of government and politics, right, are somehow involved in government, politics, and policy, but also at the same time are part of industry that get to the very heart, the very nature of human susceptibility and temptation, from gambling in Vegas to, obviously the showgirls, Nevada, open prostitution, even if it wasn't legal. I mean, give me a break. And then you look at somebody like Wexner and Victoria's Secret and the models. I mean, there are some things that money cannot buy, or money can buy, and it's people on all levels. Okay. And this clip, basically Adelson is asked about, aside from writing checks, what is it that you are able to do to get this influence? Because it's so important, because people have to get involved. And I'm just going to let her answer, and then we're going to break it all down. But before we get there, let's thumbs it up, subscribe, share. I'm going to show you some recent news, unfortunately, in Israel and Gaza, that just shows you again that this whole ceasefire thing was Johnny nonsense and a total failure. Before we get there, I need your support. $5, $10, $15. It absolutely means the world to me. Now, let me announce something that I think is really cool and good news and kind of a surprise to me. First of all, Dan, thank you so much. Apparently now, first of all, thank you for the super chat, Michelle Ritchie, and thank you for the donation. We thanked you in the earlier video. Super chats are great via YouTube. We need you. And I'll always, if I see it live on air, if we've got the time, if we're in the moment, I'm not in an interview or something like that, obviously I will take your question, your comment on air and address it. This gentleman gave a video. Unfortunately, Dan, there's no audio here. See? No audio. None. From now on, however, if you do the Buy Me a Coffee, and as long as it's not over the top, we'll play the video here. I am super excited now to be able to talk to supporters and put them on the air when they want to be on the air. about whatever subject, and maybe we'll do full videos of people that donate via the Buy Me a Coffee. Again, $5, $10, $15. Thank you so much. Big donors like Michelle. Thank you. Could not do it without you. Great way to support the broadcast. Marigold Resources. They support the broadcast. They buy and sell businesses or help. They broker those sales. If you're in that, give them a look. And then, of course, rcreader.com, rivercityreader.com. They're an actual publication, print publication, independent media here in the Quad City. Give me a follow on X. And to talk about how much Miriam Adelson, who again got this award from Trump, is behind him. Yeah, she's willing to put up $250 million to run for a third term. Now, I get it. There are those people out there that want to believe that Trump's fully independent and he can't be bought. And he's the he's the billionaire that could. But folks, we have to get with reality. Okay? We really we need to understand that there are a multitude of different power structures out there. It's not just one, although most of them are pro-globalization, right? And they work within the systems. They're the high-level gangsters. And sometimes they just don't want to reveal their secrets, as you're going to see in this video. Okay, now, not only does she want to do that, this is today. Okay, this is today. I keep talking about it. Israel launches strikes as Netanyahu joins Gaza on board of peace. So Trump announced this board of peace, and now, guys, look, I don't even want to play this video. It's hard enough for me to see this guy with a child in his arms like that, right? But since the quote-unquote ceasefire, almost 500 people have been killed. And they're reporting 3 journalists were just killed in Gaza today, including a CBS News contributor. This is probably the most disturbing, how journalists have really been openly targeted and killed, and nobody's talking about it. Really not a good sign. Not great. By the way, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't know what else you call if you invade a country, you say you're taking it over, and you make the people evacuate. That is like the full-on definition of genocide. And Gaza families are now being forced to evacuate since the ceasefire. I'll let everybody just. It's right there. And by the way, I'm not one of those, Israel shouldn't exist. Do you think Israel, a nuclear power, is not going to exist anymore? Do you not understand the sins of the United States and their military-industrial complex, which is very much, in many instances, aligned with, at the hip, Israel? Okay? We do a lot of each other's dirty work. People don't acknowledge that. That's a big thing in the Iran-Contra scandal. That's a big thing with what's really going with Epstein, the arms dealer. Okay? But let's bring it out to Miriam and hear what she has to say here. And you have to respect the honesty.
Miri, you and Sheldon created a lot of relationship over the years with politicians at the state level, especially at the federal level. I want you to share with everyone, why is it so important and how do you do it? Again, writing checks is part of it, but there is more than writing just checks. So how do you do it?
Can you allow me not to answer?
You choose.
I want to be truthful, and there are so many things that I don't want to talk about.
All right, so now let me just break down, because I'm going to just go back to that. We'll play the full clip again. There's a little bit more to it. But let's talk about what she just said, and she's smiling and everybody's joking. He asked a very easy, a softball question, if you will. But she really just thinks probably the most nefarious things that you can imagine that are done outside of buying people with influence. Because not everybody can be bought with. There are still some of us with a soul, right? There are still some of us that say no. All right. She could have said something like, well, we set up meetings and we have discussions with, and we use this organization or that organization, right? But instead she's like, you know what? I've been pretty honest here. I want to continue to be honest. So I don't want to tell you all of the really horrible things that are done at the highest levels of global geopolitics. How politicians are bought, how agendas are produced, how agendas are fought, how the information war is won and fought. So let's bring it on back. This is over at the Israeli-American Council. She doesn't want to answer, right? She wants to be truthful.
Miri, you and Sheldon created a lot of relationship over the years with politicians at the state level, especially at the federal level. I want you to share with everyone why is it so important and how do you do it? Again, writing checks is part of it, but there is more than writing just checks. So how do you do it?
Can you allow me not to answer?
You choose.
I want to be truthful, and there are so many things that I don't want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want specific, but that's okay. But everyone should know here how important it is to get involved, because the reason that both of you were able to make huge differences is because you got involved and you spent a lot of time and yes, a lot of money on it, but you got involved and you cared. And that's what everyone here need to know, that, you know, complaining and doing nothing is not going to get us anywhere. And you guys have done completely the opposite. So thank you both.
Now think about it. First of all, she got laughter in the beginning, but then she literally got an applause when she said, there are so many things. She literally tells you there's a ton of things right now in that regard I don't want to talk about because I want to be truthful. The motto of the Mossad is, through deception, thou shalt do war. I mean, deception is just one thing you can imagine in something like that. So look, I just had to point it out while Davos is going down and Trump signing executive orders. So, individual or private companies can't buy individual homes. That's going to be a big one, and we're going to have to talk about it. There's a lot, again, with the transhumanist stuff. We're going to be talking Davos. We're definitely not Donnie Dunsauce with Davos. I can promise you that. But this is, again, one of those power structures that is really inside and outside of Davos. And when you're talking about a private citizen like Miriam Adelson, you're talking about a billionaire, you're talking about the Trump administration and beyond. I thought that this was an extremely important video. If you did, maybe you could contribute a little. $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. Please share all the links. And if you haven't seen all the documentary films, check them out as well. They're in the playlist down below. Invisible Empire, New World Order Defined, Shade the Motion Picture, Fabled Enemies, and Loose Change Final Cut. And once again, I'll even hit refresh here, see if anybody took me up on it. Yeah, Dan, I wish I could have heard. Yeah, I thank you for the coffees. If you want to put a video up, if you've got a question, a comment, that is now part of the contribution. I'm pretty stoked about that. I've been talking about that as a new way to super chat throughout all these and interact with the audience for years now, and it looks like we can actually do it. As always, thank you, everybody who supports the broadcast in any way. Ring that bell, subscribe if you're new. It's not about left or right. Always about right and wrong. I absolutely love you guys, and I will see you all on the flip side.